What all can you do in the Daytona dashboard? Let's take a look. So here's my dashboard. I've got a couple of instances up and running. One's running, one's stopped. And then there's a bunch of different menus. Let's just focus on these. You can refresh, of course. If they have changes, you will notice those changes. So let's go ahead and make a change real quick. We'll go ahead and spin this instance up. I'm going to grab a file, any file, and say, hello, YouTube. Save that. Now, it doesn't happen instantly, so it'll take a while for this to update, but by the time this is done, we should see a change here. But let me go ahead and make that happen. So we've got that. I think I've saved it. Great. So I'm going to leave this. In a few minutes, this should update. Uh, we can share a workspace if we want to give somebody this workspace. Um, and then we can share it via this URL. We can also unshare it. Oh, there we go. It's updated it's got one change that is uncommitted. And so it's a quick and easy way to understand like, oh, do I have anything in there or not? You can pin an instance. So by default, instances will stick around as long as they're running or until they're 2 weeks old. And if they're older than 2 weeks, by default, they'll get deleted. So if you want an instance to stay around for longer than that, go ahead and pin it. A couple other things you can do. You can open it. We'll do that in a second. Stop it, delete it, get information about connecting to it via SSH. So you can get public key. If you forgot to set a public key, you can use an access token. Very much recommend you go ahead and set a public key. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But that's more or less it from this place. You can always, of course, click here to go create it. From here, you can create a workspace. So I've got a couple of different organizations I belong to that let me create workspaces. This is my own personal Metcalf C. If you know what you want, you can search for it. So if I want to do simple Flask, I can go ahead and create that here. You can also enter any public repo here. Or we have a number of templates. If you just want to get started and play around with it, you can go ahead and fire off any one of these templates and you'll be up and running. Now, if we go back to the workspaces, you can delete a workspace. Pretty self-explanatory. Go ahead and copy that over. And then you can open a workspace. So you can open it by default in the browser, or you can open it in any of the editors that you might have installed. I've got a bunch installed. I could open it in VS Code, or in this case, Simple Flask is a Python app. So we'd want to use PyCharm, either the professional or the community version. But I don't need to open this. Let's go ahead and look at some of those other things we talked about. SSH key is a good one. So uh, one of the first things you're going to want to do is go ahead and log in and add a public key for your SSH connections. I've got an SSH key that I use locally. You copy that public key, come over here, add it, copy it in. If you want it to expire, you can do that and then name it. And then once you have that in, so I've got my public key for Big Box, which is my machine that I'm on right now, which will expire in a year. And I could remove it if I wanted to, but this is how I get remote access. So if you want to use any of the local IDEs, VS Code, or JetBrains, you're going to want to have a public SSH key in order for those to work. Now, let's say that you've got a couple things that you want to do environment variables for, and you want to make sure that those are always present when you run an instance. So there might be secrets or other things that you want to store. So I've got a video about Doppler, which is a secrets manager, and I have a video for a tune, which is a shell history tool. Both of those need to have environment variables set so that you can pass those secrets around and have them start up automatically. I'll put the links in the description below, but this is where you would go do that. Name it. So however you want this to show up. So my key, and then whatever the value is, that will get set, and then that will appear in every workspace that you create thereafter. Settings wise, not a lot to do in here. If you want to set a default editor, you can do that. I do a lot of demos, so I leave it to the web browser. But if I was going to do long amount of work, I'd probably switch it to VS Code. Also, if you have a .file repo, you can add that here. I happen to have one, so I'm going to go put this in here and update it. Now my dot files will get installed into every single workspace that I run, which is really useful. We have another video about dot files, which you can check out. But basically, you put a couple of files in the right spaces, and then we'll make sure that we have those. If you want your uh, get config to be copied, or if you have certain bash or zeesh commands that you want to be present, if you like a certain terminal layout for your prompt, all of those things you can set inside of your dot files. And we have another video all about setting that up. It is a rabbit hole that you can go all the way down and find out about. Within, let's see, so settings, we've got that. Account, workspaces. That's pretty much it. We'll leave team for later. That'll be something that you can check out when you actually have lots of people in your workspace. But for now, this is a video very much centered on the individual usage. So I think that's a good way to get started with a dashboard. And yeah,